I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Hi, everybody. Ron here from The Truth About Addiction. We're having a bit of a technical problem here, but that's fine. We've got Michael. Michael's out of Houston, Texas. Is that correct, Michael?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Michael's a published author. That's his book there. I've just started reading it myself. It's a good read. Thank you for sending me the book, Michael. I appreciate that. And I think it's really important that, we do stuff like this to get the message out that there's many ways to recover and there's many different ideas and views, but the only one that works is the one that works.
Yep.
So all the philosophical bullshit in the world means nothing. Like what worked for me mightn't work for you. What worked for you mightn't work for the guy down the road. And the bottom line is I love the diversity of recovery. I love the fact that we do recover, but it takes us time and it takes a lot of hard work and different ideas. Not everything, it's not black and white, I liked heroin. People liked cocaine. People liked amphetamines. People liked barbiturates. We all were different. And so we were always going to be different in our recovery. So I don't care where my addiction came from. It's where it's going to that I care about. So Michael, what's your story, please, my friend?
So my story is I grew up in Dallas, Jesuit, Catholic, all that stuff. And then there was just some stuff going on in my house with my dad and some really bad stuff. And so, I left home at 15, and I walked out and I had to walk into the other world, the darker world of, what you do when you sell yourself, and moved in with my favorite pedophile and just went on. And I became a drug dealer and a weed dealer. And, and I found out, I don't know, Ron, I found out that, the streets have rules too. If you're gonna make it, and you better be really good at being dishonest and opinionated. You really gotta get down into it. And so what's funny was, so I'm married 35 years ago. My wife and I shot meth for 8 years, right? Then she went back to alcohol and turns out I did another 4-year run a few years later that really knocked my socks off, to the point where I loved it so much I didn't care about anything else, right? I talked to people about, for me, I had a love affair with meth. I'm not going to sit and say it took me here and it took me there and it took me there, and I did overdose and I did have heart attacks and I did have all that stuff, and they did catch me running naked down, at the naked people place, and all these things happen. And I'll be honest with you, when I met with Mike, he said, you can love that shit. You had a great career and you're a warrior for the dark dude, that master called my dark dude. I did anything the dark said and I loved it. And so, there came a time where my wife went ahead and went into recovery 15 years ago, and they told me to get into Cocaine Anonymous or just get out, just get out, and so I did. And thankfully I was, even when I went into the rooms of Cocaine Anonymous, I was so fucking angry and I so hated everything that they were doing, and I didn't buy it, and I didn't buy the God piece, and I just didn't want to do any, I left the God piece because I didn't want to do anything of principle. We don't do that. And so this guy that I was dealing with was Mr. I don't fucking do that. I don't do that. I don't do that. I don't make amends. I don't write inventory. And, for Mike, like I told you, when he met me, he said, I'll work with you, but we're not friends. I'm not subtle. I don't make suggestions. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And we're going to write what we write about everything we think about, and hopefully hate it a little bit less in a little bit. And so everything about my recovery came from, I love the dark side. And so I found a brutal man that sat me down with whatever I thought, when it's opinions, we're going to write a piece on my opinions. I love to brutalize people with what I got to say. And you better listen to me and you better hear me. But if you don't, but I don't want your opinions, you should just die with your opinions, And it went down the road. Like, if there was ever anything that I wanted you to look at in the book, it's the table of contents. They're all just one word, pieces that were essential. And everything starts with my belief systems from the dark side.
Yep.
I got a belief system that everything about God and everything about honesty and integrity, that shit just isn't for me, you know, because I've never done it. You know, when we get into judgments and I get into defiance, domination, you know, these are things that I was very proud of. And I hated everything that recovery was about. And I said, Mike, what do I do with this? And he just said, get a pen. You know, here's the cool part. I'm going to give you credit. Your belief systems from the dark side are coming over. You know, he was the first one that said, all your dark shit, the things you hate and that you won't do, and you hate your kids and you don't want to do this. And let's talk about the two big ones. Let's talk about the God dude, and let's talk about sex and the force of your sexual prowess, your obsession with that. And it's not about the sex, but it's the force that comes behind. When you think of it, you have to have it. You cannot not go there. And you will burn anybody down. And he says, and I'm like, yeah, that's the part I like. And he says, the thing with the G piece, the God piece, the Spirit of God came in and said, I'd like to see if you'd be, ask me to make it easy, to be willing to believe that it's only half as cool as you think it is. And ask me to make it easy. Ask me for it to be easy, to be willing to believe that your anger is only half as big as you think it is. Your defiance, your intolerance, all the shit that you're so proud of that are so big. I'm so intolerant. He said, we're going to go down the road and we're going to pretend our way into, in moment by moment, one piece at a time, that it's not as big as you think, half as big as I think it is, and that I just haven't remembered that it's kind of cool if I get there. You know, so every single thing, every breath, you know, we wrote every night on something. You know, I would write about, you know, why I didn't get the raise. I hate my boss. I hate this. I don't like that. You know, why won't my wife fuck me? All those were all pieces that I wrote, you know, and come to find out, the beauty of it is what Mike has done for me today is that we're going to find out what you do to cause that. You know, what do you do to, what is my part in being such a dishonest person? Well, number one, I love it. Number two, it's okay when I do it, but if somebody else does it, I'll lose my mind. And it's not just that I think that. The force of that being true is huge. We always talk about the force of my dishonesty.
Yeah.
We don't care about what you're dishonest about, but the need, the force, the obsession to have to be, let's go there, you know. And so all those dark beliefs, those belief systems came across, and I still deal with them, you know, one at a time. You know, Mike's deal was this: it's not about the inventory, and it's not so much about the amends you're going to make today for hating somebody, but it's about the two corrective measures that you're gonna nail down, and you're not going to bed tonight till you do the corrective measures. And what it looks like is some guy at work that I just absolutely fucking hate. The amend, what it looks like is I owe you an amends for just hating you, and I love it. And I treat you like shit, and I talk about you, and I do this and I do that. And you know what? I could do better. On some level, I'm letting you know that I can do better. I'm letting you know that I know that I can do better. Is there something you need to say to me about my bullshit, or is there something I can do to make it right? And I've been doing those forever because I judge somebody for something every day, and I can just do it in my head. You know, the girl at the grocery store that was in line with all the things, and she was big and she was fat. I think she's a fat, you know, white girl that needs to just move the fuck over. And why can't she think like me? And it's like, what is your part in that shit? I love to cut people to the bone, but goddamn, if you do it to me, I lose my mind. And it's like, I'm interested in that shift right there. What if, for me today, it's like, my dream is like, you know, one of my biggest dreams coming into recovery is I didn't want to be a slave to my dick anymore. My dude, what I used to call it in the means, my dick in my hand doesn't allow me to do anything other than that. And I'm obsessed with it. And you know, 15 years later, I mean, I worked on pushing out the intensity and the force of the porn and of this and of that. And, you know, and the God piece just said, so here's the other important part. He said, let's talk about the spirit of the God piece. You know, that thing I don't even want to talk about it. And he said, let's pretend for a moment. I need you to create, and I'm bringing you here, not back there. You're bringing none of what you thought into this moment. But what if I need you to create a voice and a face for the spirit of the God dude. And the God piece told me, I don't do shit to people. I don't hurt people. I don't burn. I'm a spirit, mofo. I'm a spirit. And I'm like, okay, I get that. I mean, that's so helpful for me. And my face was the original samurai. My higher power, my God dude, he's a force. He's a wicked warrior guy that kills my opinions and kills my shit, kills my judgments in a moment. He has to be fierce. And we sit in two lazy boys on the side of the beach and we rap about everything. And he's telling me, Michael, I don't exist unless you do something for somebody that you don't want to do something for. He says, that's us. Other than that, it's you. You're going to have to ask me to give you the courage, the strength, and even the willingness to consider wanting to maybe do something decent. He says, that's us. Now you go do something decent, and that you'll find me. But you won't find me in all this other bullshit that you think I'm about. And Mike brought me to that point, and it was super, super, super effective. And it was probably what saved my life. The spirit of my father, that samurai that cuts for me when I get all wiggy or start lying about shit, he's like, he'll cut the part of me that needs to lie. He said, now just shut up and go do that. And I'm like, and then I made a covenant to this thing, right? I don't know about you, but Mike said, dude, you're so iffy. He said, whatever we decide on, the God piece said, you're gonna have to give me a covenant that you will take a knee and you will do anything and everything that you do not fucking want to do. Because you're my poster child. I'm gonna use you to go do shit that nobody wants to do. And give me a year, and that covenant thing was huge for me. I was already dead. I was trying to leave my dark father. They call it, you have two masters, right? You have the dark dude and you have your spirit dude.
Yep.
And my dark guy always tells me, says, oh, I'm not gonna let you leave me. You're never gonna be unopinionated. You're never gonna be honest because I want your life. Haven't I shown you that? And spirit says, yeah, if you come over here, you're just gonna be busy doing shit you don't want to do. That's the only thing left for you in life is to be useful, taking a knee, shutting the fuck up, and go be us somewhere, right? And that's when you'll see me. And so I've been living just heavy into that for probably the past 5 years. And I only work with people that really were experts in dark in the game. I want people to bring those dark belief systems over. And I've got, for you guys that are 5, 10, 4 years sober, and we still meet every week. And we write a piece about some bullshit that I resist, something that I think is uncool, and some blame that I have on the spirit dude. And what are your corrective measures tomorrow? We're just so heavy into that. I'm going to see somebody. I mean, after 15 years, I have not run out of people to go see.
Yeah.
because I can look in a room full of people and say, that's a dumb motherfucker right there. And that one, it's like, dude, I owe you the minutes for standing right the fuck over here and thinking you're a dumb motherfucker. And because you do certain things, but I do the same things that I'm killing you for. And is there something you need to say to me? And in that moment is the most different part of my life that I've ever seen, is to come to you and say, Juan, I talk about you all the time and say you're a piece of shit. But I do the same shit that I think you're a piece of shit for. And I can do better than that. The part of me that says that can do better is right here. And whatever you need me to do, I'm open to it. And so that's just part of how I got here. That's part of what is important to me here. But so Easton is a college professor, and we met through a friend about 5 years ago. That man right there is one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met in my life, because he pulls things out of me. I mean, we were epic night and day. College professor, meth, drug dealing, drug addict, sex addict, right? And so we just started pulling these hours, and he actually got me to write the book. He said, he kept saying, you need to. And I'm like, I'm not doing it. I can't do that. And so he's the one behind giving me the courage to put things on paper.
Very nice.
So go figure. So where are you at, Ron?
Man, look, I relate to what you're talking about so much. My life has been a very black life. I grew up in a criminal family. You know, I was in prison by the time I was 17.
Wow.
You know, shooting 4 men, having a shootout with the cops. And my dad was disappointed that I never killed them. You know, he was really disappointed that I never killed the people that I'd shot. And because when you grow up in that world, you know, like dead men don't tell lies, dead men don't stand in court cases and point at you and say, yeah, that's the guy that shot me, you know. So he taught me that, you know, dead men don't tell lies. I had never used a drug at that stage. In fact, the criminal world, I'm 69 years of age, the criminal world that I came from was drugs were a weakness.
Yep.
Once I became a heroin addict, I was disowned by the criminal world.
Yep.
I was kicked out of the criminal world, and I went on to become a drug dealer, drug smuggler, blah, 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 blah,
Yep.
blah. And I found recovery in 1981. And it took me 5 years to get my head around the 12-step program because it had a word God in it.
Yep.
And I've been doing recovery now for 42 years. I'm 37 and a half years clean, total abstinence. I haven't had a drink since 82 and I've had a drug since 86. And I still couldn't get my head around the God thing. I still loved the dark side. Not as much now. I went back to prison at 16 years clean with an 18-year sentence.
Yeah.
So I got sentenced to 18 years prison, solitary, like maximum security prison, because I'm an escapee and I'm a violent offender. And so I went back to prison in 2002 and served an 8-year sentence for my part in a conspiracy to import cocaine into Australia. I went into prison and I reassessed my values because I'd been clean. There's a lot more to recovery than being clean. There's a lot more to recovery than being abstinent from a chemical. To me, I have a thinking problem, not a drinking problem. I have a mental health issue, not a drug issue.
Yeah.
The drugs and the alcohol are a symptom of my disease. Guess what I did as soon as I gave up drugs? I became a sex addict.
Oh, perfect. You're my new hero. Oh my God.
And
Anybody that goes that deep down into the rabbit hole,
yeah,
I'm in awe.
and I'm the sort of guy that I'm an all or nothing type of guy. So I liked it so much that I opened my own brothels, my own massage parlors. You know, if you like the business so much, I don't like middlemen. Middlemen made all the money. So of course I went and opened up my own massage parlors in Australia and in the Philippines. And, you know, we had something like 300 girls working for us in the Philippines and girls in Australia working. And, you know, it was hectic because I was found my new high. You know, I'll put a pun on it. You know, I was trying to fill that hole, you know, but I was just trying to fill every hole. And
you're an overachiever.
Yeah, and it caused so much pain. It destroyed marriages, killed relationships. But the biggest thing it stopped was my contact with my spirit. My spirit was dead. And when I got sentenced to 18 years in 2004, I had a spiritual awakening. Some people call it a rude awakening, but I had a spiritual awakening. And the spirit was, I deserve more. You said it. I deserve more. In fact, I'm entitled to give myself more. In fact, I'm obligated to give myself more. How can I give myself more? If I stop taking. Because I wasn't a human being, I was a human taking.
Yep.
I was taking substances, then I was taking victories, like underpants were like notches on my belt. You know, every chick you could lay was another notch. And I had no consideration for any other human being except for myself. And I realized that I'd become a very small parcel. I was a multi-millionaire living in a waterfront mansion, driving the sports cars, driving all that stuff. I've always been a very good money maker. I mean, I could sell quinine to heroin addicts, you know.
Yep.
You know, I could sell, ice to Eskimos, as they say. But
I get it.
what I couldn't sell was recovery to myself. I couldn't sell spirituality to myself. And what is spirituality? Love, understanding, and forgiveness. 3 things I lacked.
You know what Mike always told me about spirit and all that stuff is like, consider the possibility that it's already there.
Yeah.
You know, it's going on with or without your permission. So however dark you are, there's a small piece that is not. And he would say shit like that, and I'm like I've been waiting my whole life for that piece of information. Because I don't know like you, but all in my recovery and people I talk to and stuff, my defining moment in recovery is at midnight when that dark motherfucker shows up and says, we're not doing that. And he's always caught me at midnight. And that's where, considering the spirit of the dude, the samurai warrior that can cut his head off, he would always meet me at midnight with my stuff. And I don't know about you, but I always had to write everything out. I had to write everything out. I can't. And like you said, it's what came over from being an addict. It was my thinking, but my goddamn feelings too. Because I blast people with my little feelings and stuff. And man, we had to kill some of that stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Where it's maybe half as big as I think it is.
Yeah, if you want to change the way you feel, change the way you think.
No, I for me, it's unthink everything.
Yeah.
But to see what comes,
Yeah, that's, that's faith.
I know we're all a little twist.
Yeah.
We're all a little twist different, right? How we get there. But man, my mind, I cannot bring it to the table when I'm with G. And it's a place I never in my life thought I'd get to,
Yeah.
And so yeah, he's just like a warrior father. He said, when you're having trouble being this or that, let me just go watch me cut the head off of that.
The
dark dude right there, watch me just decapitate that thing, fall to the floor, push it in a grave, and now we'll get to our next moment.
Yeah, I like what you said about writing. I do a lot of writing, and anybody I treat, because I own a drug and alcohol program, anyone I treat, I make them write everything right. Because while it's in your head, you manipulate it. You manipulate it to suit what you want. You'll trick it into what you want it to be. Once it's in black and white, and I say to people, don't read it back.
Yeah.
Don't edit it.
A big part of it for us is when you write it, it's like, here's the next question. It's always the next question. Yeah. What do you do to cause this shit? With your defiance and your, what do I do to cause me to be mad at you? Because I got these expectations. Motherfucker won't do what I ask. And it's like, there it is. There they are. And that's where we cut the head off of those for a minute. And
I agree 100%.
That writing thing, I never bitched about the writing thing because that's the only way I purely get it down, what it really, really is. And most of the shit I write, it's like, I really don't have a problem with it. That's the problem.
Yeah. I write. Even while I was in prison, I wrote a book while I was in prison. This is the book that I've just published. It's called Born into the Lie of Crime. It says life, but the S crossed out of it because my father was a gangster. And that on the top, there's my rap sheet. This is by the time I haven't even used a drug here. I'm 17 years of age. Shoot with intent to murder by 2. Shop breaking, garage breaking, shoot with intent to murder by 1. Illegal use of motor vehicle, take car without consent, shoot with intent to murder. I'd never picked up a drug by the time that was there. There's a photo of me, 14 years of age, holding a machine gun. I was daddy's little boy. I was your
little brother, man. I'm your little brother that went ahead and started shooting meth at 16, and I ran it out that way with the women, and it's just like, man, I love finding you because, like, I don't do podcasts because everyone kind of wants to do the fluffy shit. If happy, joyous, and free, it's like, fuck that. I didn't come here to be happy. I came here to be less unhappy. And the joyous and free part is, man, I need a purpose, and it's not going to be where I come from.
Yeah.
And so I love meeting you because you have all the tendencies, and what you have too is you have the force. What was behind what you did, whether it was women, whatever. We did it so well, and we did it so intentionally. And I came in at 44 going, shit, I'm tired. I need to get my dick out of my hand for a minute.
Oh man, it becomes boring in the end. But there's so many similarities. When I got the book, I had to smile. My son's name's Ronan.
I love that.
I have an 8-year-old boy named Ronan. What's Ronan? A Japanese warrior without a master or
He's
a
a
lord.
warrior.
And that's my little
That's
boy,
my
you know.
guy.
And you talked about defiance. My wife's number plate on her car is defiant. My number plate is denial. They're the tags on our motor vehicles. Defiant and denial, because that's what I lived in. I lived in defiance and denial.
Well, yeah, but you had to be very good at that to be here. I mean, you were supposed to perfect it, and that's why I see with your life and mine. I was supposed to be great at all the dark shit I did, killing people, whatever I did, in order to, take a path where I don't and make it right. It's a change of heart. I never thought I would get it, and that's kind of what I get from you. And for me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't come. Sober time doesn't add up and equal something. It's about right here, this moment. What I'm shitting on, what I'm hating on, what I'm thinking about is, how I'm better than you. He said, there it is. The whole world is going to be right here in this piece that we write.
Yeah.
And he said, these moments are what we're talking about. We're not talking about being honest all the time. God told me, he said, I don't care if you're honest all the time or none of the time, but if you're going to be honest, not be honest, that's you. And you don't need me. Yeah. Right. And so, this warrior spiritual father, man, when Mike says you need to find 2 lazy boys and put 2 lazy boys where you and the spirit of the force of who is coming up in you can see what's coming from the dark side. Like when me and G are sitting somewhere, I can see Mr. Goddamn I hate shit walking up, and he's like, pour some tea, watch us talk for a minute, and then watch me take him out front and cut his head off.
Yeah.
In that moment, it won't be yours.
Yeah.
I've got to cut for you. I can't cut for me because I don't have the depth of a spiritual warrior within me until I do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I've had the same spiritual advisor for 37 and a half years. I've had the same guy that's been my spiritual advisor.
Jesus Christ, man.
And, I spoke to him just before I spoke to you. We're buddies. Of course, 37 and a half years of knows more about me than any of my ex-wives or anybody knows about me. And I never had any luck with counsellors, with psychologists. I went to a psychologist when I first ever got clean, this recovery in 1986, and halfway through me talking to him, he stopped me and he said, I can't deal with you. You're going to have to leave.
Right.
Because he thought I was going to tell him that I'd killed people and stuff like that. I wasn't going to tell him that. But he thought that he was going
to. On some level, on a universal plane, they say that some of us have chosen to go deeper and darker into that world and to, in a lifetime or two, to come back to the source.
Yeah.
And I feel like it really rings true for me, and man, I love talking to you. I love that we found each other, because if your sponsor's like mine, he's like, I'm not suggesting shit to you. Go get a pen about your little issue with that old girl over there, or that little, that car dealership guy. Go bring me your fucking issue, Mr. Cut the throat out of everything. He can fuck everybody else, but don't fuck me.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm stuck. That's real. That's stuck. What do I do? And what do you do to cause that?
Yeah, 100%.
My love affair is attacked. The guy piece says you got a love affair with everything until you ask me, like as far as being arrogant. He said, you own a love affair that you created in all your belief systems. So in this moment, you're going to have to ask me to have start a little bit of a love affair with not being that. And I'm like, fuck, I fucking get that.
Yeah.
If I'm an opinionated guy, why don't you ask me to start just a little bit of a kind of a love affair with not being that 2 times tomorrow when you can see it. And I'm like, I'm just living in that shit. I still get the visits at midnight with whatever.
Yeah.
I'm still in love with my other master too, the dark dude. He served me so well and created a life for me. Even when I was fucking sleeping with pedophiles to get a place to live, I was like, this ain't so bad. As opposed to living it on. Yeah. And I'm like, I was blessed with that thinking, man. And
it's survival.
Yeah.
Our dark side, I believe, is all about survival. We have to survive.
Well, people like me can only see people like you coming up and coming out because of where you've been. I mean, your qualifications to me in my heart for me to love you is that you've been where the fuck you've been and killed and done all that. It's like, I love your soul for that shit, because today I can see you work on kind of letting the opposite of that shit come through.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really, I had, when I got sober, I told him I had no regret for anything. Regret just wasn't in my vocabulary. I didn't know how to feel it. And she's like, that's fine. She's like, that's fine too. You know, just didn't cause me any pain. So I rarely meet people like you. I rarely.
No, thanks, Michael. And it's important that people understand that just because we get clean doesn't mean we stop thinking the way we used to think. We just stop acting on what we think. We stop reacting to the way we used to.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can't get that out of people that work and do what they have to do in recovery centers. They just don't know how to. They're just so blind to the book and so blind to, you know. Bill's a cool guy, but he really, you know, what I got out of Bill was inventory and fucking amends.
Yeah.
You know, that did come from him, so I will always give him credit for that.
Yeah.
But the rest of it,
a lot of people in recovery houses are in very early recovery themselves.
Yeah.
And they're treating themselves by proxy. Yeah. By them carrying the message, they think that they're saving themselves. Where I think recovery is a lot deeper, as we discussed before. It's being honest about being dishonest.
Well, but you have to have had one of those midnight visits with
Lots
both
of
sides
midnights.
to say, because God's like, I'm going to show you a part of you where that already exists. That thought, we're not just talking about it. It's already the fuck in there.
Yeah.
And you'll see it once in a while, you know? And recovery is like, nobody really ever wants to recover. Not and do the writings and change and take a knee to anybody and do anything they don't want to do. I mean, that's God's just like, that's what the fuck I want from you. Like, if there's something at work at the big plant that nobody wants to do, you know, he says, go clean the fucking toilets today because you're my guy.
Yeah.
And you know, and like I love once in a while get up in front of a bunch of people at work, go, if anybody's gonna fuck anybody over today, do it to me because I'm cool with it. You know, lie to me, whatever, just have a good time with it because I'm too shallow to fucking care.
I like that. I like that. I do like that because I say to people all the time, what you think about me, none of my business. You know, really, what I think about me is relevant. What you think about me, I couldn't give a flying fuck, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, I don't care anymore. I'm 69 years of age. I spent 15 years in maximum security prisons. I survived. I shot heroin and, you know, watched people die and didn't give a rat's ass. My attitude was, get that fucker out of my house so the cops don't come.
Yeah.
Drop him down the park. Drop him at the hospital. I don't care where you drop him, but drop him. Get him out of my house.
Yeah. I mean, I shot meth like you shot heroin. I shot meth to die.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to go to that and 8 years, you know, and, you know, my history definitely is not as lengthy and cool as yours, but I got the pockets that are just the worst.
Yeah.
And it's about pretending that it's half as big and half as important as I think it is.
Yeah.
Is saves my soul. I bought into the G.
I had this problem with God. We touched on it before. And what happened for me, Michael, was I went to India, to the ashrams, looking for a spiritual prayer and meditation. I went to Israel and I walked the path of Jesus. And when I was walking through the path of Jesus in the holy city, I was chanting Buddhist chants, "All money, Padme Hum, please grant me compassion." And I realized I wasn't a Christian. How can I be in the most holy spirit in the whole world, the most holy city in the world, and be chanting Buddhist chants? So I realized, well, you know, it wasn't the Christianity that I was looking for. What I was looking for was peace of mind. And I found out what I was looking for was always inside of me.
Right.
Love, understanding, and forgiveness. To love myself, to understand myself, and to forgive myself. First of all, to understand that I didn't understand. And I had to forgive that I didn't know it. I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. When I was younger, what I was doing was normal. I had to survive.
Right. I get that.
Yeah,
I
it was
totally
all
get
about
that.
staying alive.
Yeah.
When I went to
Yeah.
prison, I was a little guy. I had to be a tough guy because, if I wasn't a
Oh,
tough
yeah.
guy, I was going to be somebody's bitch, and where I came from was like, ain't going to happen. So I had to become one of those guys that if somebody gets in your way, you have to make an example of them so that everybody else steps back and goes like, I'm not going here. That's hectic. I don't want to play that game because this guy will stab you in front of the prison guards. Because, I had no
Yeah.
yourself, when we're in drug addiction, we don't care. We're basically trying to kill ourselves every time we inject. It's a form of self-mutilation, addiction.
It's a skill. It's a
Yeah.
love of the sport. It's a love of the goddamn drug. People ask me all the time, why did you do it? Because I love the drug. And by matter of fact, it was awesome. Can you understand that? No, you can't. But the reason I did all that, you did all that shit for the drug is because it was fucking awesome at the time for me.
I get a little bit concerned when I hear people get up and say they hated the drug. I loved it. I escaped from prison for it. I robbed banks for it. I did everything for it.
Yeah, but everybody else just has a version of it, and I get all. That's why I went to Cocaine Anonymous for 10 years and I kind of bowed out. And I got enough of that, but it's like there was nothing wrong with them saying that. It just wasn't, I had no tolerance for it. And so I had to start my big road was tolerance for what anybody says about anything, just to pretend to fucking bow out with G. You know what I mean? And for the God piece, I had to create a presence within me.
Yeah, I agree.
A presence. Like me and G used to sit on the back of Mount Everest. There's like a 20-mile glacier, right? And picture at the top of it a glass dome that we sat in there, and we watched we watched people come up all the time. My impatience, my hate, they would all come out, the dark guys, right? And we would come in one at a time, and he would just kill them.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was just not. I was so with the spirit of God, and not with the other side, because I watched them fucking kill it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you know what? I don't even talk to. I talk to people about aspects of recovery, and kids and shit like that. And but I look for people. I personally love people that have got 3-4 years sober and they want to leave really bad. And it's like, give me 90 days, and we will bitch slap some stuff.
Yep.
And we will pretend that we don't have a problem with something. We'll just say, I'm willing to pretend. It's like, it doesn't even have to be true, but the fact that you said it, that it came through you, that there's a small aspect of it that's already going on. When Mike brought that shit into me, you're as opinionated as you are. There's a part of you that's not opinionated. It might only be 10%, but it's already the fuck there. And why don't you look at that when you're sitting with Mr. Opinionated Guy, and just sit back in the Two Lazy Boys and just watch it not be a part of you for a minute. And I'm like, God, this man just brought me to a place with G and all, and I'm mystified, because like you, I run with 3 or 4 businesses. I'm a big commercial printer. I run a big nonprofit, one-on-one peer recovery coaching for people coming out of prison and addicts and stuff. It's a big deal in Austin. I'm chairman of the board for that, which means I really don't have to do much, right? I just take the role. And the coolest thing that I could say I have today is I don't think too much about shit. That's how it is. I see it. I see you. I see you, Ron. I got really no place you need to go or be for me. And I've never, ever, and it has come true. With me, it's like, is it true or is it not? He's like, why don't you fucking pretend it's just goddamn true when it's in there? It's already in the back door. And I'm like, I could fall in love with some of this. Everything that G is asking me to fall in love with a little bit comes from loving the other side of it. Like my intolerance. I hate being fucking tolerant. I love being intolerant. I love shitting on you. I love saying shit about you. But there's that other side that says, what if we could, God, could you make it easier for me to pretend to be willing to kind of dig, not be intolerant for a minute? I'm
Yeah.
like, it's
It's
in.
cool. It's cool. It is
It's
cool.
in.
I had to laugh. I rang a guy the other day and made amends to him. A guy who's been around recovery for 40 years.
Yep.
I watched him come in before I relapsed, and I rang him the other day and I said to him, I'm ringing him up. I said, man, I'm ringing up to apologise. And he's like, what? I said, I'm ringing up to apologise because every time I see you, I want to punch you in the face. I said, and every time I hear your name, I say, he's a fucking idiot. And he said, oh, thank you. Thank you. It means a lot to me because he knows I don't like him. We were friends and he betrayed my friendship. And I've been hanging.
For you to say, I want you to know that I do this shit to you, hate you, and I think I could do fucking a little better than that.
Yeah.
That's just the world that I live in, like you. And I don't know a lot of people that really do, that get into how much and they always ask you, well, what if you never said anything to a motherfucker? And I'm like, he's my guy. Because when I see him, I fucking piss all over him, and I do all the same shit as if I was talking to him. So
Yep.
I love going to guys. But it's funny you said that, because there's a guy that I've hated so much, just hated so much. He worked with one of the plants, and he was just an ass fuck. And I was driving down the road the other day, and his name came to mind. And if the name comes to mind, I'll be goddamn if we're going there. We're going, right? And so I pull up to the plant, and he's walking down the stairs. He's right there next to my car, right there. And I'm like, I did this, and I hated you, and I blamed you. And you know what? The problem was me. And he's like, I know. And I'm like, I know. I mean, I love talking about this stuff to you.
Yeah,
because
man.
you're so a lifetime of shifting, and I'm only talking about what you got to shift today.
Yeah, we've only got today. We only have today. Honestly,
Mike told me, he told me that here's the deal with G. He said, you're gonna wake up in the morning, and my deal with G is like, good morning, father, good morning, warrior, dude. And the voice of my guy is Mufasa in the Lion King. So what I get back from that is, good morning, Michael, my son. And I'm just like, and he's like, let's go do something that we don't want to do today.
Yeah.
Let's go unshit on somebody that we want to shit on or have already shit on. It's like, and then that'll be us. If you can't do that, I'm not necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm not afraid to be. I'm not afraid of principles in me anymore.
Yeah. Recovery's given me so much. I've never once said, oh God, I wish I was fucking still using. I wish I was screwing my whole life up. I never once think that to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like you. I got my 44 years in. I was satisfied. That last time I went in the hospital, overdosed in there for a week and all that shit, and got on the heart thing and walked right out. They said, you're just healthy as can be. And they're just everything I was doing was illegal, and I wasn't going to prison. That is the truth about why I changed, because it was just, I could see it coming, and so there was a time I thought this stuff was worse than prison. I'd rather just go. Yeah, me coming to see you about being honest about something. I don't want to do. I don't do that.
Yeah. The prison of our addiction is 10 times worse than any physical prison I've ever been in. The locks are on the inside. The locks are on the inside. Fuck that.
Yeah. The message I get from G all the time is like, why don't you just make that shit half as big as you think it is? That's my gift. Pretend that it's half as big.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, the resistance, whatever, half as big. And possibly you just haven't remembered that it's not really a problem.
Yeah.
I live in the pretend world of recovery and G and all that stuff.
I've found that everything passes, Michael. Everything passes. The bad times, the sad times, the glad times, the hard times, everything passes. It's just life on life's terms, one day at a time. One day at a time. All I've got is right now, the present. And it's called a present for a reason. It's a gift, because we should be dead. And there's a reason we're not dead. There's some power greater than ourselves. I don't know who it is, what it is. For me, it's love, understanding, and kindness.
He's like, I'm gonna give you the option to serve from a place where you come, and you're gonna serve and go into everything you never would do, and you're gonna pretend like you're like you can start a love affair with that shit.
Yeah.
Because there's nowhere else for you to go. There's nowhere else for us to go. You know, and like you said, I had to do all the shit I ever did to get here. And same with you when you were talking about prison, all that stuff. You had to do all that shit to get here, to be heard the way some of us need to hear you. Not all of us, just some of us need to hear that there's a way out of how you think and how you hate, how you, you know, and how you just fucking hate life. I just wanted to, you know, every day I was I didn't go to recovery. I just went because my wife went. I was alumni. And it's like, man, I really just want to fucking die and kill myself rather than do this shit.
Yeah.
And they would listen to me. They would laugh at me.
Yeah.
Hey, are we going to talk again someday?
100%, my friend. 100%. Now, your book, Michael, we give it a plug. Michael Haynes, Break It Down with Michael. This is a junkie's path to becoming a spiritual warrior. I've only briefly looked at it, to be honest, but I really like what I've seen so far, and I'm very intrigued to go through the lessons because I like the way you've broken it down. Because people try to complicate everything.
Yeah.
As the addict brain can complicate a shit sandwich.
Yeah.
You know, and this is a simple program for complicated people.
Right.
Don't pick up one day at a time. Try to do more good than you don't do.
Yeah, it's like, hey, motherfucker, why don't you pretend it's half as problematic or half as big and just, you know what I mean? I came off the ledge, and so, but man, I would even if it's off the podcast, I'd love to just hang out sometime. And just...
Anytime you like, mate. The truth of the matter to me is that we do recover if you want to. No one can make you recover. You've got to get to a point in your life where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I got to that point where I just got sick and tired of being sick and tired, that groundhog day of get up, get on, get out of it, wake up, like have to get on again today. And people say the drug stopped working. Well, what happened was that my brain got stronger. The drugs didn't stop working. The chatter in my head got noisier to a point where I thought of suicide. And I'd never thought of suicide before. And I thought, I have a theory. I run this past you. When people commit suicide, why do they shoot themselves in their head, or why do they hang themselves?
Most of the people, from my side, it's a great question. Most of the people that I know, and I support suicide too. If you got to go home, let's go home. So I see it, people just going, I can't take this any further. I can't do anything. I can't. So I'm ready to go home. And it's just, and we all believe that we get reassigned, as angels and shit anyway. So it's not a horrible thing. I just think some people just can't go anymore, and they don't want to hear. I would never want to hear another scientific fucking thing about the drug and about addiction. I'm so done with, because attached to that is it gives me so many excuses to feel sorry for myself. I know I got this, and my dad gave me this, and genetically I did this and that. It's like, I don't want to hear it. I'm a goddamn drug addict by choice, and here we go. And so I piss off a lot of scientific bullshit.
Yeah, I'm the same. I always say I don't care where it came from. But my theory on this one is we're trying to separate our head from our body. That's why they shoot themselves in the head, and that's why they hang themselves. They're trying to separate the head from the body because the head's driving us mad. I believe the disease lives up here, and I believe recovery lives in here. I really do. I believe that recovery lives in my soul. That's why I really like your book, because it's talking about a soulful warrior, a spiritual warrior. The spirit comes from your soul, not from your brain.
On the inside, he's like, why don't you make me an inside job? If we can pretend, because you can't, but it's like, let's just push all that shit that about G. And I have people do inventory on God, right? You're going to write 8 or 9 things that you hate the fuck about God. He harms people, he favors people, he does this, he does that, he does that. And then what comes out of it is,
recovery. It's an inside job. That was a convention I put together while I was in prison.
Yeah, and it's an inside job, and it's like you best find a way to not be alone, because you won't be able to handle you.
You've got to have a mentor. You've got to have a guide.
When you told me spiritual warrior and this one guy, I just took a knee and did anything that they told me to. It was all fucking horrible shit, but and like I'm like you, it's like I don't think recovery is hard at all. It's just when will I come across? When will I shift? When will I allow? When will I ask to make it easy? The shit I did, all the amends and stuff we do in the writing, there's nothing hard about that shit.
No.
But I like it to be, because I love making excuses to not do shit. That's what I'm best at.
Yeah.
So
I've run out of excuses. I've run out of excuses. I'd rather just get it done and get on with it, motherfuckers. Like, I ain't got time, man. I ain't got time. I'm too busy having fun.
It's pretty bad when I start getting sick of my own excuses, thinking they're weak.
Yeah, no.
It's crazy.
I really am. I'm a really funny guy, man. I just love waking up in the morning, not hanging out. I love waking up in the morning, not have to score. I love waking up in the morning, not waiting for the cops to kick the door down or the prison officer to open the fucking door from the outside. I love having the key to my own recovery in my heart. I'm now responsible. Wow. 69 years of age, become a responsible, productive member of society.
Yeah, but here's the deal, Ron. That shit didn't happen accidentally. You had a fucking bleeding part in every step of how you got here. I mean, that shit just doesn't, God saved me, God make me better and all that. It just doesn't.
It's hard work.
In my world, it just doesn't come that way.
True.
You're going to work for every bit of your recovery, because you're going to give something that you didn't want to give.
Exactly,
and only
man.
then will the spirit of shit be with you.
I didn't want to give up crime. I didn't want to feel financial insecurity. I never felt financial insecurity when I was a criminal. I never wanted to give up pussy because I was always good at it. I didn't want to give up lying and cheating and stealing because I'd practiced that stuff. I was good at it. I wasn't born a liar, a thief, and a cheat. That took years of practice.
You know what one of the things I was most afraid of getting sober was making money legitimately.
Yeah.
That was just dollars, right, versus thousands versus, but where do you break, and that's where Mike, and he just at some point he hit me. He's like, who do you want to serve?
Yeah,
you can
good word.
You can serve both, but you're not. You can't serve both at the same time at the same moment, and you got to give one over to the other to have the God piece says, all I do is I give you the courage to do the shit that you don't want to do that makes you an honest person.
Yeah. I love that.
All I give you is courage. I don't do nothing else.
Yeah. You can't be half pregnant.
No.
You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant, man. You know what I mean? And you've got to serve somebody, whether it's the devil or whether it's a Lord, you've got to serve somebody. And I choose to serve what I call my peace, my inner warrior. Because some days it is a battle. Some days it's easier to go back to what I used to know. But the rewards are not there anymore. The rewards are here with what we're doing right now. We're carrying a message of hope. And I believe, man, if we carry a message of hope, we're on the right track.
Yeah. And the coolest thing that I get out of my spirit warrior guy is that I don't give a fuck if you fuck shit up today, lie about shit, steal shit. He says, I don't care, but it's just not us.
Yeah.
He doesn't judge me for being, like you said, you're a byproduct of many years of pain and shit and running shit and the love of all that too. You can't even really, it's like if it was sand, you couldn't even accumulate all the sand together to be and think and feel and be spiritual how you are. It just came like one grain at a time. And it's like, you can't explain that to people.
It's the journey, my friend. It's the journey. And I really love it. I look forward to getting more involved in this book, man. I really do. I recommend anybody to pick it up, go and get this book, go and read it. And if it resonates, great. If it doesn't resonate, so what? Pass on to somebody else that might resonate with them. That's the reality, man. What works for me mightn't work for you. Michael Easton, thank you very much for coming on to the Truth About Addiction. It's been a pleasure. And we will do a repeat on this one, guys.
Let's do that. I'd love to. We could go all day about stuff.
I solemnly swear that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.